Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to today's, well, it's not going to be a normal sohbet today because I'm going to be interviewing one of our students at the University of Birmingham from Indonesia, Mukhlisah.
Yes.
Welcome to my office at the University of Birmingham's
Thank
Multi-Faith
you.
Chaplaincy. And welcome to all of our viewers. Thanks for tuning in on this Monday morning, Monday afternoon. I mean, it's not the brightest of days, is it? I mean, the weather
Yeah.
outside
It's raining.
is raining. It's a bit dull, but the company makes up for it. It's so. I think before we start, should I ask you to introduce yourself and give me a little bit of information about your background for our viewers?
Okay. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Sheikh, for inviting me. I'm Mukhlisah Amin. I'm MA student in Islamic Studies at University of Birmingham, where we are now. And then I graduated from Alauddin State Islamic University, majoring Hadith Science. So I studied Hadith 4 years in undergrad, and before that I studied in Islamic boarding school, DDI Maktuanging Banteng. It's like Darud Da'wah wal Irsyad. It's the name of my Islamic boarding school. And I spent 6 years there, and in middle school and high school, Alhamdulillah. Um, and now I'm so excited to learn about how Islam is interact with social and politics, and especially in Islamic community in digital universe. Yeah.
This is actually something which is really going to be important. I think we'll try and discuss a bit more about that later. But
Yes.
this transition to more digital
Yes.
society with like these devices that we've got here
Yeah.
that we're recording ourselves on and
Yeah.
transmitting conversation all over the world.
Yeah.
The world has certainly changed.
Yes.
Before we get there, though, I mean, you mentioned Islamic boarding school.
Yes.
Isn't that what you call Pesantren
Yes.
in Indonesia?
Pesantren.
And I think before we go any further, it'd be good to actually discuss a little bit about what Pesantrens are.
Yes.
Because when it's in English, it's translated as Islamic boarding school.
Yes, I think
But
it's
it's
not
not
appropriate.
exactly like our boarding schools that
Yes.
we have here in the UK. We have less than we used to, but we used to have a lot.
Okay.
And it's also, a lot of people will think of a madrasa. But of
I
course,
know it's
Pesantrens
different.
are something that predates even
Yes.
the introduction of Islam into Indonesia, aren't they? And
Yes.
then afterwards were adapted for the society after the Wali Songo brought
Yes.
Islam to Indonesia. So if you can explain a little bit about your experience in the Pesantren
Okay.
and what the Pesantren is and how maybe it differs or is similar to other systems of education in other countries.
Okay. In boarding school or pesantren in Indonesia is a place to study intensively about Islam. So it is like a place consists of masjid, madrasah, or school, and also dormitory where the students live 24/7. So we live in a big dorm with our friends, and um, in the town in the subuh we go to pray, and we attend a class in studying classic Islamic book, and after that it is maybe different from in the modern era in the early day of Islam in Indonesia, because pesantren in the early days always it is an informal school that people don't get like a official diploma like.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
But now we study about Islam intensively, and also we study like regular school in the day at the day, like they from 7 to 2 p.m. we study about physics, mathematics, and others, and after that we study again about Islam until night, until 10 p.m.
I think
Yeah,
this is one of the things that I wanted to highlight
yeah,
because the Pesantren system in Indonesia, it is actually a professional school system.
yes, professional school system with the extra addition, something extra. Yeah, the extra thing is learning Islam intensively, especially learning of Arabic.
And this, from my understanding and from what I when I visited, because I visited a number of
Yes,
Pesantrens during my visits to Indonesia, is it seems to be taught in a much more academic way, rather than like you get some people they just teach by rote in
yeah,
some of the madrasas in other countries. Maybe they don't necessarily understand that much. But when I've spoken to the students at the Pesantrens in Indonesia, they actually seem to have a better understanding of Islam. When I've asked them certain questions and
yes,
how they fed back, they understand that the practical aspect of Islam, the fact that Islam is about gaining knowledge, it's about being successful in whatever career you pursue, whether that is a particularly religious oriented career or if it's something like
yeah,
being a fireman or being
yeah,
a
of course,
scientist
yeah,
or somebody who's doing something technological.
yeah,
And this is I think it's a really wonderful
yeah,
approach. It balances the religious and the secular
yes.
within the same school system.
I think in the pesantren we are provided to like a strong foundation to
Mm.
face the society after school, like after graduation. We are trained how to religiously uh, go into the society, into the broader world after graduation, because only few of my friends who pursue their higher education in tafsir or Quran, or yeah, they even I my friends study pharmacies, also we study like they pursue higher education in medical school, in law school, and everything. And only few who I think in my pesantren, only me who pursue they study in hadith. So yeah, it is not exclusively to train like um to be Islamic practicing, like no like Islamic practitioner, or like ustaz or ulama. No, but but we it is like preparation to our next career with Islamic value, strong Islamic
And
value in
whichever
ourselves.
subject you chose to study at the Pesantren, as long as you pass your exams, of
Yes,
course, then you get the qualifications equivalent to our
yes,
GCSEs and A levels in this country, don't you?
yes,
Which then prepare you for being able to take education further to
yes,
university.
absolutely.
I mean, it's a wonderful system, and I like the way it's something that actually predated Islam, and then it was sort of like adapted to teaching Muslims,
Yes,
and then it's like being upgraded in
yes,
the more recent decades, and it gives a very balanced education.
alhamdulillah,
And
yes,
this is turning out obviously balanced students that are getting the blessings of both a modern academia
yes,
and also a religious education at the same
yes,
time. I think there's a lot that maybe even we can learn here
yes.
and people can learn in other countries from this system.
Because when I was in school, there are two exams, national exams and madrasah or pesantren exam. So every term we will go through these two exams. So in national exam, every school will hold like their examination, like our schedule and our what yeah, it's for like physics and mathematics subjects. And next week we will get, yeah, we will go pesantren exam in usul fiqh, in all kitabs, all Arabic or Islamic book that we have learned, in especially after subuh and after maghrib. So we will go to the exam.
Subhanallah. It's quite a
So
rich education. And you also mentioned about the dormitories as well.
yes,
And I think for a lot of students who've been through the Pesantren system, the friends that they make when they're in the Pesantren, they become like a family in many
yeah,
cases. That even like
mashallah,
decades later, people keep in
mashallah.
contact with, like as if they're their extended family.
Yes, mashallah, indeed. I think I have talked about this multiple times with my friends, that how could this friendship will last long? When I even bef- uh, uh, before coming to Birmingham, my friends even came to airport. My pesantren friends to say
Subhanallah.
goodbye for me, and our
It's very sweet.
yes, because our friendship feels different from the ordinary school, because we spent literally 24/7 with them. Uh,
That's
we
actually more time than
yeah,
people would spend with their family in this
yes,
country.
yes,
Because you go to school or you go to work and you might
yes.
spend a few hours in the evening. But I never really thought about that. You have a point because you're there in the school with them.
Yeah, I mean,
Then any
school.
activities that are non-academic at the school, and then you go to the dormitory at the same time.
Yes,
It's like it's 24 hours.
6 years.
Yeah.
I was with them, and um, even though in my pesantren, because my pesantren is not like a very modern, because
Mm.
it was um, one of the oldest pesantren in South Sulawesi
Mm.
Selatan, and yes, maybe we will. Many people, many of my friends, when I get like in the second year or the third year, they will not eat alone. They will eat with their roommate in the same like big tray,
Subhanallah.
and it is very unforgettable. And
Actually, this is something that has a long history, Muslim
yes,
tradition around the world, and not just for Muslims. A lot of traditional societies have this concept, which is a bit strange for us in the West. It's like if you're going to eat, you mustn't eat alone.
oh really?
It's like nobody necessarily says it,
Yeah,
but a lot of societies in other parts of the world they have this that you should eat with someone else. You
yes,
shouldn't just eat by yourself. Whereas for us in the West, it's very normal for us. Oh, I feel hungry. I'm just going to make something to eat, and I eat it.
yeah, yeah.
And that probably seems strange for you.
Yes, it's
It's
very
yeah.
strange. Even when I was in the first year of my college era, and when after graduation, I feel like it's very hard to eat alone, because I have like I spent years eating with my friends, like
Mm.
uh, and maybe it's like in fun fact about pesantren, most of us enter the pesantren with the force of our parents, like
Oh,
because
yeah.
because after when I was when I firstly entered the pesantren, I was 11 years old. Like it
Wow,
is
yeah.
very young. Yeah, we are very young, and
So it is about the same as in the UK. We have an exam that some people do called the 11 plus.
really
And the 11 plus will give, if you pass it, it
okay.
gives you the opportunity to be able to get into a grammar school.
Ah,
Now,
and
grammar
what is
schools
school?
aren't normally boarding schools,
Boarding
but probably
school.
there are some that are. But grammar schools tend to be known as giving a better standard of education than the
Ah,
average school. So
okay.
there's a lot of pressure within some
Ah,
elements of the British society to try and get their children into grammar schools.
oh,
Um,
so it's like a
so, and it
competition.
starts about the same time, when you're 11.
Okay.
And, they do the exam. It's always called the 11 plus. You do it when you were 10,
Yeah.
because you start that school when you're 11.
Yes.
So, Yeah, it's interesting. It's about the same
Yes,
time.
yeah, it's the same time in 11 years old girls like we are very young, and entering the pesantren means we give up our our comfortability with
Mm.
our phones,
Oh,
TVs, and also like
that's true.
everything is arranged. Everything has a rule in the pesantren. Like I cannot uh, even sleep until like I have to wake up at 5 a.m. to pray, and it feels like the most hard journey is the pesantren, because we gave up all of everything we have been comfortable with. Like we
Mm.
don't have any phone there, and we only watch TV in the Thursday night, because Friday is like a holiday.
Yeah,
We don't study, and we study in Sunday. We study in Sunday, and we don't study in a
because it's
Friday.
modeled around the
Yes,
Islamic week. Yeah.
yes, Islamic week, and also yeah, we only watch TV once a week.
Wow,
So
that's got to be good for you.
yeah, I
We
thank
probably watch too
myself.
much videos, and whether it's TV or YouTube or things in this country.
Yes,
I
I
mean,
thank
it
myself.
instills a sense of personal discipline,
Yes.
which then you can carry forward. I think this is something. I mean, I was talking to a Kiai in Indonesia,
What?
and he mentioned to me about this, that the Pesantren system is tarika,
Ah, Tarika, mashallah, yes.
but it's actually tarika done through an education system.
Yes.
So it combines a balanced education along with ideas from tarika. But the things you mentioned here, it reminds me of certain things that my sheikhs put emphasis on. You know, to have personal discipline, to not let
Mm,
yourself be controlled by televisions or
yeah.
computers or other devices or games or other kinds of distractions, which would actually, if we let them overwhelm us,
Yes.
then they actually control our lives. We become a slave of these distractions.
Yes.
And if we allow that to happen too much, it prevents us from focusing our energies on what
Yes.
we really want to achieve, whether that is becoming an ustad, or whether that's becoming a scientist,
Science.
or whether that's becoming even a business person, because you
Mm,
need to put a lot of time and energy into a business in order to make it successful. And if you're constantly getting distracted by other things, you cannot do that.
yes.
So it's an important thing. I think it's something that maybe in the modern world, in a lot of places, we are losing that sense of personal
Yes.
discipline. So there's something to certainly give us pause for reflection at the minimum on this.
That's why, and I was very young that time, and I don't know that this is good for me. And I think the pesantren have ruled how I build my habit. It's the
I can
one
certainly
important thing.
resonate with that as a father of a 9-year-old daughter. And she always wants to play on her phone or
Oh
watch
yes.
YouTube on her phone. And I'm saying, can you please put the phone down for a minute
Okay.
and do your homework or read a book? And
Okay. What is?
it's difficult, you
Oh,
know.
it's difficult.
And it's this is a challenge for many parents today, because the thing is, it's like you don't want to completely take it off them,
Yes.
because they're going to be resentful.
Yes.
And if they get resentful, then they're going to hold that against you and think that they're missing out. It's actually not good for them to have that much exposure to these devices. But at the same time, it's how do we kind of teach them in a way that doesn't stop them from having access to those devices,
Okay.
that they need to find a balance. And it's
Yes.
not
It's
easy,
very
you know,
hard.
but
It's
it's
very hard.
something, because if you take it off them as well completely, I don't
They
know if any of
will.
your friends have had this experience on Pesantren, that when they left the Pesantren and they have free access to all of these
Ah,
devices,
yes.
maybe some of them they don't know how to focus anymore.
Ah,
Maybe
Uh,
some they have that personal discipline from maybe some of them that discipline from the Pesantren has taught them how to have personal discipline. But some of them, when they come out of that environment,
yes,
they get distracted and because
uncontrollable,
they never learned how to live with it.
uncontrollable. That's why
I mean, well,
we
there's actually something similar in the UK context that
okay.
might not be apparent at first, but people who leave the armed forces, so they
Mm,
actually be a soldier for a number of years, they need to have a very strong sense of discipline, which is
yes.
instilled into them through their military training. But
Ah,
when they actually leave the army, a number of military personnel, they find it difficult to readjust to civilian life because civilian life doesn't really have any restrictions unless
okay.
you place them upon yourself. So it can be a bit of a challenge for many of them at
Yes.
first.
It has like restriction to the social media or to on device is has a negative and positive side.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's like that's why we are very happy because if once a month we are allowed to go home
Yeah.
and it's time to post everything we want, like to play. That time it was on Facebook and Twitter. Instagram wasn't like popular that time, and what and the interesting thing also like regular school, average school in Indonesia, they still go to school in Ramadan, but
Yeah.
we have 40 days of holiday, and we spend 40 days at home. I
Wow.
like 2 days before Ramadan, 2 days, and 1 week after Idul Fitri. Idul Fitri. So, uh, but we got challenged also in with the long holiday. We we are we are commanded uh to deliver speech in Tarawih
Ah,
so it's like a
not
task.
really a holiday.
No, not really a holiday. We still it's like a burden for us
Yeah.
because we need to we have 1 month before Ramadan in my pesantren.
Mm.
We start to like we are they start to train us intensively to like the memorizing the script of the speech, the religious speech. It is ceramah in Indonesia.
Mm.
And after going back home, we have to deliver speech in mosque in our village, in our hometown, and at least 5 times.
Wow.
So for the less than 5 times, we got punished, and
Mm.
in more than 10 times, we got a
You get
reward.
punished.
No, we got reward.
Okay.
That
No, I
time.
mean you get punished if you don't do five speeches. Oh, my goodness. How do they punish you?
Uh, we need to memorize vocabulary,
Oh,
like
okay.
200 vocabulary. If we didn't make at least five speech 5 times a speech in
I
masjid.
suppose five speeches in what 28 to 30 days is it's not
Yes,
that
it's
bad,
not.
you know. It's
Yes, and yeah, I remember when I was in the first year at the school, I got a reward. I got like some stationery because I that time I performed speech 11 times.
well,
And
that's good. You know, reward often works. It's
yeah, so the time so and yeah, absolutely, every time we my boarding school is very passionate in speech, in religious speech, especially in Indonesia Arabic language speech, and yeah, we yeah, we usually win a competition.
Do they do any English speech as well?
Yeah, the English speech as
Because one
well.
of the reasons I went over to Indonesia was to promote a program called English for Ulama that
Ah,
we delivered
yes,
in partnership with the West Java provincial government. You
yes,
know,
because we need like ulama who can speak English, so they can reach like a broader engagement. So
I think it's very important because the thing is, I mean, Indonesia does actually produce a lot of ulama
yeah,
and religious scholars for anybody unfamiliar with the term. And it's like if we can actually get those ulama to speak English, then it would enable them to reach a global audience.
yes, yes,
And also within Indonesia, they'd be able to teach their students English.
yes.
And that would help their students, whatever kind of career they pursue, because obviously
Mm,
English today is the
yes,
lingua franca of business, of science,
yes.
of international diplomacy. So it would really help.
That's why in my pesantren, every time we got punishment, the punishment is memorizing vocabulary.
Did you learn Dutch?
Huh?
Did you learn Dutch?
Dutch? No,
No,
no.
it's kind of gone out of fashion, hasn't it? I think at one time they used to, because
Yeah.
I've met some of the older ulama, some of the older
Oh
kiais,
yes,
and they can speak Dutch, but
yes.
a lot of the younger people, I find that they don't speak it.
Maybe because some of them pursue their education in Leiden University.
Yeah, I visited Leiden. I was invited there for a conference.
Oh,
Yeah,
mashallah.
it's a very nice university. It reminded me of Cambridge.
Mashallah, yeah. That's in pesantren. Our daily life, like we wake up at 4:30 maybe at morning or
Mm,
5 a.m., and that time we need to pray subuh, because the subuh, the prayer time in Indonesia is stable, like
mm,
every season is stable at subuh at 5
yeah.
a.m. And after that, in the we need to perform it in mosque, in the big mosque in my pesantren. And after that we didn't go home, to dormitory again. We need to stay at mosque and learning the kitab. So every day
Mm.
we learn different kitab, like for example, Fathul Qarib. It's a fiqh book.
Yeah.
So and also Sirah Nabawiyah,
Oh, mashallah. Yeah.
Tafsir Jalalain, and Aqidatul Awam, Aqidah for or Aqidatul Tahawiyah. Yeah,
Akida Ataqiyya, yeah. It's
it's
the same
a
like my sheikhs. They taught me to learn this one.
Aqidatul
Yeah.
Tahawiyah,
Mm.
mashallah. So that, yeah, every day, like for Monday, so
And
especially
Sirat
for
al-Nabi as
tafsir.
well. It's
Yes,
good. We get some Muslims here in this country, and they only talk about Quran and Sunnah, and what they mean is just study Quran and Hadith, and
yes,
they
yes.
forget the Sirah.
Sirah,
I mean,
sirah.
how can you be Muslim and not spend any time learning about the life of the Prophet Muhammad
Yeah.
Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam?
How could
Without the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, we wouldn't have Islam.
yes.
So my sheikhs also they put an emphasis on this, that we need to familiarize ourselves with the seerah of the Prophet Muhammad. Peace
How
upon him.
could we understand the hadith, which is the saying of the Prophet, if we don't know his story,
Yeah,
story
it's
how.
true.
Yeah, that's like Monday. I think Monday is the day for tafsir, and what I remember is like the Saturday is for sirah, and uh, Thursday night, because it's like Friday,
Mhm.
welcome Friday. We because we are Nahdlatul Ulama. I don't know it's affiliated with Nahdlatul Ulama or not. Uh, like Barazanji. It is like the salawat, like the traditional salawat
Oh,
in Indonesia.
shalawat.
Salawat, yeah,
Salawat, we say, in
yeah,
Arabic. It's the reading the blessings on the Prophet
yes.
Muhammad, peace upon him.
Af-
This is actually traditional Sunni Islam in most
Yeah.
parts of the world. It's only when certain heretical movements
Yes.
came up that they sort of played this down and said that we should just do the salah and we should just
Okay.
study and not focusing on salawat. But actually, there's I mean it's like Delail Qirat, which is a
Yeah.
book full of salawat.
Yes.
Maulana Sheikh Nazim, he encouraged all of his murids to study this book and to
MashaAllah.
learn the salawat. And of course, you don't have to just read those sorts of salawats. I know in Indonesia, you often read salawats that's even in Indonesian languages,
Yes.
and you expand it. As long as it's the meaning
Yeah.
is right, it doesn't matter. You could
Indeed.
even do it in English,
Yes, like in Pesantren in Java, they do salad in Java language, and like in my Bugis language, it's in my hometown, and yeah, it's um and it has like the sense of barakah also, even it's not Arabic, and yeah, this our for the learning kitab is especially after praying subuh and after maghrib. So between the maghrib and isha, we cannot go to dorm. So because we need to learn in the mosque, in the masjid, and like yes, in the morning until the afternoon we study in like 2 p.m. We study in this class, in the class like regular class, like average school, and for memorizing vocabulary.
I have a book here, one of my sheikhs, I just remembered.
Oh, it's Nabi. Oh,
Yeah, the
yeah.
celebration of
Mashallah.
Maulid and
Yes,
Nabi.
yes, yes.
This is from Dr. Tariq Khadri, and he puts lots of proofs in here about the importance of
Yes, Maulid and
celebrating
Nabi.
Maulid and
Yeah.
how it is full of barakah.
Yeah, mashallah.
I mean,
Yes.
this is the traditional Islam, but unfortunately, there are some people out there that they're kind of confusing things, which is a shame because people need clear guidance. They don't need to be confused.
Yeah, sometimes. And we have. I think we have different culture in celebrating Maulid because like in Indonesia we decorate like egg into the.
You decorate eggs.
Eggs.
It sounds like Easter.
Yes. Eggs and like hang it on the banana tree.
Oh, wow.
You cannot do.
I know you have a very rich cultural diversity
Yeah,
within Indonesia,
alhamdulillah.
and it's not just Indonesian culture because like you'd have Sulawesian culture,
Yeah,
you've got
Sulawesi.
Javanese culture, you've got
Sumat-
Sundanese culture, Balinese culture, and of course all the different islands of Indonesia and different regions, they have their own local culture, sometimes their own languages as well.
Yes,
It's
alhamdulillah, yes.
it's wonderful. I mean, it's was it Indonesia? You say is like your motto, like unity in diversity.
Yeah.
But we could all learn
Inshallah,
from that.
alhamdulillah. Yes, and for in afternoon every afternoon we will memorize the vocabulary in Santan, like 3 days for English and 3 days for Arabic, like memorizing the vocabulary, and we have to speak in in Arabic or English, even though it's with like my like Sulawesi accent, but it's yeah, it doesn't matter. Like my um my teacher say like it doesn't matter as long as you don't forget your vocabulary, like daily vocabulary. We'll learn about that.
It's not easy actually when you learn another language to always necessarily get the accents correct.
Yeah.
It's I mean, you look at us in this country with English and French,
Yes.
and often the words in English and French sometimes are the same word or derived from the same root, but the way the French say it is completely different to how we do, and even the way they read the letters of the alphabet. When French people say it, it throws me, even though I have studied French. But it still throws me because it's so different.
That's why I think no reason to criticize people other accent
Mm.
as well, because because we were born in different country and different language. We have different mother tongue. um,
Mm.
but
Well, Allah tells us in the Holy Quran that He gave
yeah,
us all uh, culture, and
yeah,
it's something that we need to be aware of this and understand that the Prophet Muhammad, the peace be upon him, also understood this point, and he taught it through the hadith that we have.
yes,
But unfortunately, you get some people who don't understand that. I mean, we're not Arabs.
yeah. We're
That
not
doesn't mean we can't be good Muslims, but we're not Arabs. And it's some people who are from Indonesia, some people from England or America or elsewhere will perfect Arabic, and they will be able to speak Arabic in the same accent as the Saudis or the Egyptians.
no.
But the people who do that and really master the language are always going to be a minority. Even the people who are English and learn French, and these are sister languages, these are
yeah.
not so different. The people who learn French and
Okay.
master the language are they're going to be a minority. The people who have a working knowledge of French, yeah, that's going to be a lot more. And even the reverse with French people, you will see many
Okay.
French people when they speak English. Sometimes they speak English very competently, but they can't shake their accent.
Yeah.
It's
We-
very
yeah.
obvious that they're French.
Yes.
With some countries, it's less obvious. Like I know a lot of Dutch people, when they speak English, you wouldn't be able to tell them from an English person sometimes. But maybe that's because Dutch and the English, we also have a common heritage.
Yes.
Yeah. But it's an interesting thing about languages and
Okay.
cultural expression as well. Everybody's going to have their own cultural expression. We're not going to all express ourselves in the same way. And
Oh,
wouldn't it be a
yeah.
boring world
Very
if we were all
possible.
wearing exactly the same outfits
Yeah.
and trimming our
It's
beards in
boring.
exactly the same way? I don't think Allah created us that way, because even if you look at us biologically, skin tones vary, our
Yeah,
hair
it's
tones
terrible.
vary, our eye shapes vary. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala already created us to be different. And there's a beauty in that, and it makes the world richer and makes it more interesting.
Okay. Yes, I
It's a
think
blessing.
it's very, yeah, it's yeah. And Allah also said in the Quran uh, that Allah has a meaning. Why Allah create us in different, like different form, like different culture and different
Yeah.
ethnicity. And you say that you have visited the pesantren in Indonesia, right?
Yes, I visited
How was
a
that?
number. I really enjoyed the experience, actually. I liked the way that they were set up. It amazed me the scale of some of these Pesantrens, literally the number of students that were being catered for um, in every respect, because they were having their accommodation provided, the food. And yeah, I know a lot of them pay fees, but even then, there's a percentage usually in most Pesantrens which are actually subsidized. And they don't pay, or they don't pay the same fee because they come from poorer families.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like but just whether they are paying the fee or not, just to cater for that number of students, to provide the accommodation, to provide the food, to provide the education. I mean, it's an immense task. And it's really admirable that this is provided for across most of Indonesia, and so many young Indonesians get the benefit of a good education as a result of this. It's beautiful. I mean, alhamdulillah.
Nahdlatul Ulama itself has more than 27,000 santren.
Subhanallah. I mean,
27.
even just thinking of the figure, it's hard to comprehend,
Yes.
And then, of course, you've got Muhammadiyah that also have lots of Pesantrens, and then you've got the government schools as well. And you think about the number of
the government, like the Minister of Religious Affairs, also has higher education pesantren, like in different different curriculum also. Yeah, and but actually every pesantren has a different curriculum because we got like a freedom to shape our how the school will be, how school will like
Because
run.
they're like independent, aren't they?
Yeah,
So
independent.
it's like, although they get government support and funding,
Yes,
but they have a certain independence. As
yeah,
long as they
independent.
cover certain subjects,
Yes,
then the rest is left kind of open. It
it's
sounds a bit like how we have the academy system in the UK. A lot of schools became academies, which gave them a lot more freedom over what they
okay.
were allowed to teach in the
Oh,
school.
really?
And they could tweak the education to suit the students. So, for instance, my second daughter, she goes to the Khalsa Academy,
Ah,
which
okay.
is a high school, but it's called an academy. And you can see from the way they've set that up, they've took ideas from how grammar schools are set up.
Okay.
And because it was set up by people from the Sikh community,
Oh,
they also
really?
took some ideas from like Sikh religion. But it's not a religious school. But they took
Oh,
those ideas and said it's Sikhi philosophy
oh,
and tried to
yes, yes.
infuse these ideas of
Masya
Sikhi
Allah.
philosophy within the education at the school.
How so
And
interesting.
I'm very happy with that because when I looked at what those things are, I recognized them as being things that we also see as important as Muslims.
Mm,
So it's something which is, I think, universal to a lot of people of faith.
yes,
Um,
Masya Allah. So amazing. Because um in pesantren, like in other pesantren in like the central pesantren of Darul Da'wah wal Irsyad, the first Darul Da'wah wal Irsyad pesantren, they uh, it's like compulsory for all students to memorize Quran at least one juz every semester. So
subhanallah.
like in 1 year, in 2 years. But in my pesantren, like memorizing Quran is an option, but we need to choose one intensive class. Like after Aisha, we have our dinner, and after that we need to every student should go to certain intensive class. Like if they want to tahfiz al Quran, they go to tahfiz class, tilawatil Quran, da'wah or like speech class, or in English and Arabic class. So I learn Arabic intensive. So I didn't learn intensively the other like da'wah or yeah, it's like
It
intensive
makes sense.
class.
I mean, that's actually a better approach, I think, because not everybody's going to become a Qari and be
Yeah,
perfect at reciting Quran. Everybody's going to have different talents. So to have the school set up that you can do the intensive class on something where you can develop, where
yes,
you have some natural
yes.
interest and ability, I think that makes more sense.
Yeah, I think that has, yeah, it's also the good side of that. And yeah, it's also, yeah, so if there's like a English competition, they will choose people from the English class or
You know,
Arabic
even
class.
like within our school system in the UK,
Okay.
my second daughter, again, she recently chose her options,
Really?
which she's going to study for GCSE. So,
Really?
she's choosing triple science and business studies,
Really?
which is,
Wow.
yeah, and I wish her the
Really?
best of luck with that. They're very good
Okay.
choices. And I'm sure
Yes.
whatever she chooses to do later on, they will really give a good foundation. Um,
Yes. In the UK, how is it like there is an Islamic school or something?
There are some Islamic schools in the
Ah,
UK. They are set up uh, like as high schools.
mm,
Um, some of them are set up as like high schools, and some of them are set up as middle schools or like
ah,
first schools. But then it's like it depends how they're set up. So some of them are like mainstream, and
okay.
some of these schools are like madrasas that have been provided by mosques that are like part-time schools that they have at the weekend
Oh,
to
really?
complement the normal education.
Okay,
Uh,
okay.
I I have seen a number of different ones of these schools, and some of them are better than others. Some of them give
Okay.
a more balanced education.
Really?
I mean, obviously, if they're registered as an academy or a state school,
Oh,
they have to deliver the certain subjects, as required by the
Yeah,
government.
requirement.
Otherwise, they wouldn't get the license or the funding to be able to teach. But then if they're like a part-time madrasa that's set up by a mosque, they can almost teach what they want because they're like, it's like a supplementary school. And, some of those I'm sure are good. But some of them are also run by people who might not necessarily be teaching the most balanced approach to Islam. And that can be a problem as well. So I think regulation is very important in these things. And that to have the right people regulating that so that we can make sure that we give our children the balanced education. It's really important.
Okay,
Because
so
everything comes from education. Whatever we do in our career or in our lives, it even influences how we raise our own children and our families. It all comes from how we were educated as children. So to get that right is just so vitally important. And if we get it wrong, then it just creates potential disasters further down the line.
because they are next generation for this country, and it's like, how about the like the when you convert, like when you into Islam, like it is the Islamic school exists in since since when, like
Well, I embraced Islam 25 years ago. So it's like back then, I remember a lot of mosques, they had these like supplementary classes, which were like a part-time madrasa on the site of the mosque. And they would teach like recitation of Quran in Arabic. Often they didn't teach much in English at that time, which was quite bad because, a large section of the Muslim communities in the UK are diaspora communities. The largest of which was and still is from Pakistan and the Indian subcontinent. And they often taught things in Urdu. And then they would teach recitation of the Quran in Arabic, and they would teach something in Urdu. And a lot of the students didn't really understand what they were being taught because they're British. They're growing up here. Their parents might come from Pakistan or India, but they're growing up here. Their first language became English. And so really the classes needed to be in English. Now, alhamdulillah, a lot of these mosques and madrasas have really caught up. And since that time, we've also had academies that have been set up. And there are some really good examples of academies run by Muslims in Britain that are providing a very high level of education, and the students come out with good grades. But then we've also heard about other academies that have been teaching things that maybe they shouldn't be teaching. And then there's been investigations, and I mean, it's got into the news and the media, So, which is quite concerning, and it's quite worrying for the community. But there's a lot of work to be done, I think, to get it right. Let's put it that way. I mean, I haven't sent any of my children to a madrasa or to a Muslim school. I decided, along with my wife, that we wanted them to have a mainstream state education, and I will supplement that by teaching them what I can about religion.
It's the best way to teach them from home, at home, to teach them like religious studies at home. And so the part-time madrasa in UK are very helpful for like for people who will
obviously if they're run by good people who have, and this is the problem as well, we've had a situation which is, alhamdulillah, it is starting to change. But we've had a situation, I mean, 25 years ago when I embraced Islam, a lot of imams really, they couldn't speak English. They were brought over from other countries, mostly from Pakistan. A lot of them couldn't speak English, at least not at first. Some of them learned, and they were often the teachers within the part-time madrasas at the mosque. So there's a communication problem between them and the students, who obviously spoke perfect English because they're British, they've grown up here. Now, I mean, that problem's being realized by the community, so it is changing, and it's not where it was, but I think there's still improvement to be made there.
Okay, what do you mean by good people, actually?
What I mean by good people is people who are balanced. They have a balanced understanding of the religion. They also have a balanced understanding of religion vis-a-vis the rest of society. Religious education vis-a-vis the rest of education, like
Yeah.
mainstream education.
Okay.
It's really important for people in the modern world, whether they are imams or sheikhs or kiais, we should have a good understanding of different subjects.
Yes.
I mean, we don't have to be experts in all of them, but we should have a certain balanced understanding where we have some understanding, a reasonable understanding of the sciences, that we can speak the language of the country we're living in,
Yeah.
and we're good at maths, and as well as religious education, because everything stems from the sciences and technology in the modern world. Even we're using it here. I mean, if we're using these devices and we have no concept of how these devices work,
Yeah. Yeah.
that is potentially a very dangerous
Yeah, it's
situation
so
to be in.
dangerous.
And also, it means that we as Muslims would then be relying upon people from other communities who are making this, and we're having no input in it. I'm not saying we shouldn't use technology that's developed by people of other communities and other beliefs, but the thing is, we should be equal participants within the development of that technology.
Yeah.
And within the development of the apps and the software that's used to make it all work. Otherwise, if we're not, then we're at a very tremendous disadvantage as a faith community.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, and as countries as well, because countries are also at different levels in their abilities in this. So I mean, this is why it's really important to have uh, as individuals to have a balance of skills, that we focus on something, but we have a balanced understanding of something, the rest of everything as well, a good general knowledge. But it's also not everybody should specialize in the same things, because as we were discussing earlier, in a society, yes, you're gonna need imams, but you need how many imams at a mosque? One, two, three. You don't need 100 imams. You might need 20 or 30 firemen in your town, or maybe 100 firemen. You're going to need people who are administrators. You're going to need people who are involved in the sciences, and people who become doctors, and people who become not just doctors, but people who are developing medical research and developing medicines, and all of these different aspects of society. We need to have people who are Muslims who know about these subjects and can collaborate with people who aren't Muslims. So to have that balanced education is really vital.
Yeah, it's vital, especially because religious issues are sensitive among the society, and yeah, I think the imam also like they should be capable in the methodology of the interpreting the Quran or the Hadith, because people will follow them, and it's very
Well,
difficult.
vitally important. I mean, this is a problem that I've had for many years when I sat down before I'm doing what I'm doing now, but when I came into Islam, and I would actually go and speak to an imam at the mosque, and I'd ask them a question. Many times they didn't even speak English, so they couldn't understand me. So if I had any conversation at all, someone else had to translate. Now, I mean, if I was in Pakistan, that would be fine.
Yeah.
And I get it because I'm in another country.
Yeah.
But the thing is, in England, an imam should speak English.
Yeah.
How can they be an effective imam if they can't speak English? Secondly, even if they could speak English, if I asked them a question, often they'd have no answer. Or they would just refer back to something that's an archaic answer that comes from a book that's 1,000 years old.
Yeah.
This is not useful in 2025.
Okay.
So I think these are really important things that we need to address and to think about.
Yes, I think that's a task for us, for everyone, especially for Muslim. And yeah, actually, the pesantren also they are not perfect like institution. They recently there are like some yeah because media is very quick and very fast in spreading information.
And
Um,
social media now as well.
social
People
media,
often hear about things on TikTok or X
yes,
before they hear about things on
in
the mainstream media.
yes, and that makes like people will think bad about pesantren. Like there's like some cases in like bullying, but like if one pesantren got case about that, like they have problem like that, they people will generalize every pesantren in Indonesia, like 27,000 pesantren will get the impact.
Yeah, and people have to be careful with this.
Yes, we have to.
I mean, this is actually why boarding schools generally shut down in this country. And you probably noticed a lot of British people don't send their children to boarding schools, and there's
Right.
very few left. Because there were cases that came out in the press
Okay.
where young boys had been abused in
Wow.
the boarding schools. But I mean, I do not believe for one moment that that could have been all of the boarding schools.
Yes.
And even if there was a case within a boarding school, it doesn't necessarily mean that the whole boarding school was bad.
Yeah.
You'd have to do a thorough investigation to be able to
Yeah.
understand. And I think the more sensible solution in these cases is to do that investigating, resolve the problem, do it openly and transparently, and also to highlight the good
Yeah.
that's going on with
Indeed.
Pesantrens elsewhere. I think it's important. The media has a responsibility to
Yeah.
present things in a balanced way. And I think this is a problem not just on this news story that you
Oh,
highlighted,
okay.
but this is a problem with the media generally, that they tend to highlight things
Yes.
and not necessarily discuss things in a balanced way. I mean, you look
Yes.
how Muslims, for instance, sometimes get reported on in the UK,
Yes.
and there are bad Muslims in the UK. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. It's reported in the media. Some of it's proven in court
Okay.
cases. Yes, there are bad Muslims. Not all Muslims are perfect, but there are between 1.6 and 3 million Muslims, depending upon the estimate that we're going on
Yes.
within the United Kingdom.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And so it's like if you add up all of the bad apples, it's nowhere near that. So how can we tar everybody with the same brush?
Yes.
And the media has a responsibility
Yeah.
to not do that, because then if people start targeting individuals or they start targeting pesantrens, and then lots of people end up suffering as a
Yeah.
result. I mean, as you were discussing, was it 270,000?
27,000 pesantren.
27,000 pesantrens.
Nahdlatul
Now,
Ulama.
you work it out, even that's just the NU ones.
Yes.
You work it out. How many students must be across all of those pesantrens?
Yes.
How many ustads, how many teachers, how many jobs would be at risk? Those students, how many lives are potentially at risk?
Yes.
Because then you've got to, if those pesantrens shut down, those students have got to go somewhere to get an education. And there's no guarantee that where else they're going to go is going to be more safe, or give a better education than what they were
Yeah.
getting in the pesantren. So I mean, it's grossly irresponsible to report things in
Yeah.
in a dishonest way.
Yeah, that's why as the representation of pesantren, because I'm not I think I'm a pesantren student forever.
Mhm.
I consider myself like I forever will be a santri. Santri is the student of pesantren. Yes, and yeah, I think it is also the responsibility to the alumni of pesantren to become the good representation
Yeah.
to their institution. And yeah, because my youngest sister now, she is in first year in boarding school, in the same boarding school as it's my school.
Mhm.
And yeah, she enjoy a lot her time in the school. And I hope yeah, I hope people will get yeah will see the pesantren beyond what media say.
I hope so too. It's been a real honor and a pleasure to host you today. And
Alhamdulillah.
I'm sure
Thank
our
you so
viewers
much.
will have benefited from this and learn a lot about
Yeah,
Pesantrens in
that's very good.
Indonesia. And thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's very
May
good
Allah reward you.
discussions.
Terima kasih banyak.
Terima kasih. Sama-sama.
And I think we'll round it off there. And thank you to everyone who's tuned in.
Thank
There's
you.
no point us coming live and doing this if nobody watches us. And thank you. And I hope you all benefited from that and
Yes,
appreciate this.
Alhamdulillah.
Somebody commented here, Bernard, balanced education is very important. How much influence of Islam is needed or wanted? Yeah, it's a very good point. I think we actually covered that already in the discussion. It's important to be balanced, and
Yes.
I mean, obviously, if the people are Muslims, they're going to want to have some input of their
Yeah.
faith within the education that their children have. If people are Catholics, they would want the same from their religion. So, I mean, this is important,
That is-
and that should be provided for.
And also that Santren do.
And
That
Pesantrens
Santren
do that, yeah. Anyway, I will
Thank
I
you
will
so
close
much.
it there. Thank you so
Alhamdulillah.
much.
Thank you so much.
I wish you all a very good week, and until next time, Assalamu alaikum
Assalamualaikum
wa
warahmatullahi
rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
wabarakatuh.
May the peace and blessings of God be with you all.
Yeah, amin. And yeah, okay. And there are so many.
Yeah.